Well, I think the market is definitely shaping what artists are creating. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're working with a gallery, you are trying to sell the artwork and you're both trying to get paid. So a lot of the times there is a lot of pressure to make more of that, what you said, decorative artwork, more saleable artwork, rather than the work that they actually want to make, or they are making the work that they want to make, but they have to continue creating works that are going to sell. So I think when you look around an art fair, you see a lot of that too. There's a ton of paintings. There's not as many sculptures. There's not as many video works. There's not as many installations, because that's just not what a lot of people are looking for when they go to an art fair. So I think that definitely informs production and what's happening, what will happen in art history.
I think that's a great answer. I agree.
Yeah.
Other question?
I'll just add something, Marlene, to your second question, which is some of the artists that I've enjoyed collecting the most are people who saw themselves not being represented in the art that they were seeing. So there's an artist, Elisa Valenti. I have a few of her pieces. She basically didn't see women with her body type being reflected in art. And it's incredibly moving to me, just to, again, knowing her, the reactions that she gets from other women who are like, I never saw this before. Like, I've been at art fairs with Elisa, and like women come up to her and are crying and, throwing their arms around her, because that's how, she saw, like, I'm not on the wall. I'm going to take the initiative and create art that will put someone like me on the wall. And lo and behold, there are all these other people who were kind of waiting for that, even if they didn't realize it. I don't know if that really answers the question, but I thought that was an interesting anecdote.
No, super important anecdote. And I think that is what gets me excited too about the future of art collecting, because I think it is more with those direct conversations, with those direct reactions, her receiving those reactions from her viewers who are really loving it, really empowers her to create more and keep being more bold and sort of, addressing topics that might not be if you were going through the system.
Hi. So a lot of you have spoken about how you live with your art in a day-to-day situation. And often decorative art is kind of labeled this dirty term and kind of looked down upon. But as someone who personally collects a lot of fine and decorative art, is that something you see in your own collecting habits? Or is there an emergence? Or is it something that kind of needs to have a reinvigoration within the market?
I love a decorative arts question.
Sorry, could you just rephrase your question a little bit?
Sure. So do you find people are interested in decorative arts, and is it something you incorporate into your own collecting?
Decorative arts in terms of like design as
Sure.
well? Okay.
Yeah, design, ceramics, even sculpture.
Absolutely.
Silver, jewelry.
I mean, I think that goes along with exactly what I was talking about before, just like living with things that are enhancing your life. I think that's totally in the same category as the fine art that we're talking about rather than decorative arts. And I totally think I also worked with this jewelry designer, Monique Payon, and I mean, she makes these incredible, I think they're like mini sculptures almost. I think those are totally in the realm of collecting and something that can be considered fine art as well.
Okay. Sorry. But I, at least for myself, I've noticed that like the more I've spent time looking and examining anything, whether it's like fine art or otherwise, the more I find myself doing the same with a lot of different things. So, I think my entrance into collecting and my education was mostly in fine art and paintings. But the more I've just like been in this space, the more I found myself getting into things like ceramics, which I had never thought I would be remotely interested in before. You know, antique furniture doesn't necessarily fit in my New York apartment, but I am a huge appreciator of like a well-constructed like commode. And then also I work at a watch and jewelry company. So just kind of seeing all of the ways that someone can exercise like a connoisseurial eye onto the world is just like, I think, you know, it's not, you don't just appreciate like paintings. I think collectors appreciate beauty in all of its different forms, and you know, you just have to kind of be exposed to all these different forms.
Just bring two different questions together, like a couple of pieces that I would qualify as decorative arts. I actually bought through a Instagram studio sale. Hal Haynes is an artist in the UK, and he had decorated some lampshades. I mean, just kind of sounds so random, but I was like, oh, you know, these are really cool. And I bought 2 lampshades, like literally off his Instagram stories, that are, you know, really beautiful conversation pieces in our home.
Yeah, I think it's sort of one of those things where once you have an inkling of a passion, whether it's for the decorative art or the contemporary art, you kind of just can't help but follow yourself in it. And I think it's also really interesting when it all comes together. I think there's a lot of collaborations that happen across mediums now, which is really interesting and exciting. I remember going to an art fair a few years ago and seeing ceramics everywhere, which I thought was interesting. I feel like more recently it's been textiles everywhere, but then also in terms of fashion, they're bringing contemporary artists in, or they're bringing artists to create jewelry. And I think the fluidity is really cool. It doesn't have to be just decorative arts anymore. It doesn't have to be just contemporary art. You can sort of collect contemporary art with your antique furniture if you can fit it. But yeah, I think it's really interesting to see, and everyone sort of has very intentional ways that they go about it, which I think.
And I'm just looking for an opportunity to work connoisseurial eye into a cocktail party conversation. So good one, Marc.
That's perfect. I think we might have time for one more, if we have a closeout.
Don't be shy.
Or you can approach any of us at the bar too.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Okay, well, I would love to thank our panelists so much for joining me up here and for sharing about their personal journeys. You know, I think they were all really special, and I loved the stories, and I learned a lot. And I think it's really cool to be able to connect over art. That's like my favorite thing to do ever. So thank you for taking the time and sharing that passion with all of us. Thank you to the Soho team for having us here today. Thank you for all of you for coming and listening and joining us. And then my last plug for Peggy, if you do download the app, we have special promo for those who attended the event. You just have to put the Soho code in and you will get a discount to start your collecting journey. And we do have lots of different price points on there. So hopefully you'll find something good. But thank you all so much for coming and listening and being a great audience.